there any type of like illegal mining, let's say, that happens all the time, when just people found it and they just steal some gold, something.
Yeah, yeah, no, the story or the issues about artisanal mining is a very complex, wicked problem,
Mhm.
and the conversation on that takes time, but I'll try to narrow it down based on the direction we are trying to head. So usually when we say artisanal, in the past they used to use handheld tools
Mhm.
to just grab some of these minerals from the ground. When we were young, when it rains, we could see gold spot nuggets here and there shining. Our fathers, grandfathers would tell us that those are gold and we will grab them. So anytime it rains, we go in there to grab them.
Mhm.
Those were artisanal.
Mhm.
Now, when we realized that every day we were grabbing from a particular spot, the miners or the inhabitants, community members were able to detect that. Even there are some trees that grow in those particular areas. They are all minerals, pathfinders and all those things leading to the raw minerals. So they tend to now know that when we see these kind of trees, blossoming in the area, then it means that this particular mineral deposit is there.
Mhm.
They also got to know that we've always been moving in the northeast direction. So it means that the mineral is trending in the northeast. So if they are following here, then it will also appear on the same line, and they will also go for the mineral of interest or the gold. Now with development of technology, they tend to know that they were using much energy. Why should they use handheld shovels when they can use front-end excavators or back-end excavators? So they tend to know that, okay, now instead of putting it on a sluice board, why don't we have a trommel, a very big one, and feed it with large quantity of, oxides.
Mhm.
Now, after mining all the oxides, they realize that why can't we crush? Because information is about, right? Why can't we crush the hard rock? Then that means that we have to blast. So where can we get explosives? Okay, I know someone who can sell out explosives. They buy it, and that begins, all this mining. Now you see that they have moved from artisanal mining to a different form that we don't even have a name for them. And it's illegal because they've not gone for the regulation. Some even go for the regulation and they will renew it.
Mhm.
Some go for the regulation.
It's almost like a self-taught
Yes,
mining engineers that didn't even didn't maybe even get the education of mining engineers to know exactly what to do, but
yes,
because of the stories and because of the observation that
yes,
their parents had, they just use the connections to do basically the mining, just
perfect.
do it
Yes,
illegally.
yes. And most of them too are smart. They can read.
Mhm.
Most of them too are old miners that have retired from the mines, 60 years old, 65,
Mhm.
and they've trained those who have not sat in the classroom for classroom education. So there has been that transfer of knowledge, and in Africa, that has been our history. We won't write our knowledge in books, but we will transfer it through songs, stories,
Mhm.
and so we are mastery in that. You can't take it away from the African. So you see that now they begin to transform the business into a different area, different form that has no name. In the books, it has no name. So, but we will classify all of them as artisanal. But you see that they've advanced beyond artisanal, and they are even closer to the large scale mines because they have their trucks, they have their 40-ton truck, 20-ton trucks, and they are using it.
Mhm.
You know, now some might have registered it, the regulators know, they won't renew it again. The regulators won't come around, even if they go. the mine operators, their security, they are strong, they may be chaotic, and so the regulators, representatives will like to be safe, retire back. You go with the military or the police, you worsen the case because they believe they are their own brothers. They knew them before they went to the force.
Mm.
And therefore, when they apply for, they also get something to, retaliate.
So it's
So the whole
like
thing,
a handshake agreement basically between the community.
so something like that goes on, and some of these people too have got their investors,
Mm-hmm.
some are locally based investors, some too are foreign based investors. So what happens is that you may think they don't have money to pump water from the pit, but somebody is funding them, and therefore when they get a gold, the person is the first buyer. He has the buying rights, and he has agreed with them how much he's going to buy it. So if the market is 2,600, he has agreed, I'm going to buy it at 1,500 because I gave you, I funded your capital and also funded your operation. So the worker receives very little, but it keeps them going. It's better than they stay in the house. That's what they say. And obviously, I agree with them, but because it was an artisanal, now they've transformed it into a different form. I don't want to say large scale or small scale because they've not registered. If you register, then you'll be given that name. So they transform into a different form. They still have that artisanal mindset that this is how we do it, or this is how we've been doing it. So even if it is an underground mine, they want to, you can increase the drive and comfortably walk, but that's capital intensive. They had not engaged mining professionals to tell them that the direction you are going is not the best.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go move into the left? You are rather moving
Or
to the
even
right.
like to make sure that it's like the borders are stable and stuff like that.
Exactly. They don't know the joints. They only know that, yes, they have ideas that, yes, there is a crack here which will appear on the other end. And therefore, they are supposed to make their drive, But obviously, the technology that we mining professionals have in our disposal to support our decision making, they don't have it. So they make the decision based on their experience and from their own perspective, which to me, it is, an artisanal form of different form of mining. I don't say large scale. So they don't get much value and they spend much energy, they spend much finances, money, and they get small. So are they also ready to look into that? No, because they believe that the mining professionals are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They can pay
How?
them. They are not, and they are. So the mining professionals are not, and they are expensive. This is what I mean by that. If I'm engaged with a large scale mining company,
Mm-hmm.
famous one, I may be paid very high. If I'm a contractor for a mining company, my pay is very low. So how do we then manage it? I have got a lot of solutions that maybe in future we can discuss them, but the whole solution cannot be a one-sided solution. So they have their perception about the whole business and also the other side of the business. So they believe the mining professionals do not know. So even though they know they are expensive, they also know that the mining professionals don't know their work. They have that perception,
Why?
you
Why do
know,
they have this perception?
because they believe they've been doing artisanal mining for the last 10 years,
Mm.
15 years. The mining professional just finished school and has worked for 2 years or 4 years. So what does he know?
So it's
Right?
or mostly like we have been practicing it, and they are just theoretical. They just offer theoretical knowledge. We don't need theoretical knowledge. We
That is what they think. So sometimes they squeeze themselves through tunnels. And in my adventure in Wales, I got to know um, one of the mines in Wales, Great Ome Copper Mine. It was mined over 4,000 years ago.
Mhm.
Yes, during some developments in Bangor area, then they discovered that while they were digging the foundation, they discovered that no, there were some excavations down there. So archaeologists came by to dig through the dirt that has covered the excavation. That's where they discovered there are tools. They carbon dated some of them, and they realized some were 4,000 years old, some were 2,000. So they, based on their history, recognized that it could be that great Ome copper mine. So they have that tunnel. We went through. They've opened some. They use as a tourist attraction, and they have diagrams. And when you look at those things, you see that it is similar to the underground mining, style that our artisanal miners, that even some have registered themselves as small scale miners, how they are doing things. So I get understanding that it's the same old practice that didn't improve the system. That's what the miners are using. So if a miner does not go to work today, tomorrow he won't get money.
Mhm.
So they go from hand to mouth. They work, whatever they give them, they spend everything.
Mhm.
You see, because they know that tomorrow they can still go there.
Yeah,
So
like zero
engaging,
stability, and it's like they need to feed their family now, and they just kind of think about that. Um,
yes.